Tim Pool gets pressed on Piers Morgan Uncensored. By the way, thank you so much for watching Bring the Asteroid. Make sure you like today's video. We post 2 new videos every single day. Also, if you can't get enough, subscribe to my personal YouTube channel where I talk a lot more on that channel. I'm more annoying on that channel, I will admit. And it's linked in the description. And subscribe, comment, do it all. Comment MAGA for the algorithm, and let's get into it.
Tim Pool joins me from West Virginia. And opposite him will be the former Ohio State Senator, Nina Turner. Well, welcome to both of you. Tim Pool, let me ask you straight off the top. There's a lot of activity on X today with big YouTube people, with big YouTube followings, all revealing that the New York Times has contacted them with a number of questions suggesting they've been peddling misinformation. I believe you are one of these. What's your response to what's been going on?
I don't think anything of it. These requests come in all the time. It is funny that they're doing this right before Election Day, about a week out. And it seems like, once again, they're going to try and push this narrative of, you know, only the New York Times and corporate news outlets are allowed to have errors or make mistakes, and often not even fact check them. In fact, I'll give you one really great example I love to cite. Politico currently has 2 stories live today. One stating that definitively Ukraine interfered in the 2016 election to assist Hillary Clinton, and another definitively stating that story's false and it's Russian disinformation. So if the corporate news outlets are going to, as of right now, be running fake news, everybody makes mistakes. The only thing I can say for what we do here is every story that we use is cited by a news outlet. So if they take issue with anything we are saying, it's our opinion based on the stories they write.
The irony of this, Tim, it seems to me, is this comes at a time when the biggest news story from this election in the last 48 hours has been this relentless attack on Donald Trump for being the new Hitler and for him holding a neo-Nazi style rally at Madison Square Garden, which I was at, first rally I've been to, and bore absolutely no relation to a neo-Nazi rally, not least because there were lots of Jewish people there and some of them had Israel banners. So to me, there can't be a bigger example of disinformation than trying to pretend Donald Trump is the new Adolf Hitler. Why are the people peddling that not also getting investigated by the New York Times? And what does that tell you about where mainstream media perhaps is in this election?
Well, we're seeing a lot of corporate outlets running this line, especially attacking Tony Hinchcliffe. And I think it's fair to say, if you've got criticisms of Donald Trump choosing to have a roast comic at his rally, probably not a smart move. But I think it's indicative of having very little left to actually make an argument about. I would prefer to hear anything in terms of plans. I mean, if Kamala would come out and say, definitively, here's one move we will make, I would greatly appreciate that. I can tell you about Donald Trump's arguments, whether or not they'll work effectively in terms of lowering energy prices, which could bring down costs of other goods. I understand what he's saying, and I think this is why we're seeing the polls shift in the direction of Donald Trump. Recently, there was a panel done, I believe it was Mark Halperin, where he asked undecided voters, and one guy just said he's suffering Hitler fatigue or Hitler rhetoric fatigue, and many of the panelists all nodded in agreement that that's all they're saying.
Imagine saying that out loud.
Yeah, I mean, Nina, I want to play the clip. So if people haven't seen it, it's been everywhere, but let's play the clip of Tony Hinchcliffe, who's this comedian who actually started the whole Madison Square Garden rally. And he said this about Puerto Rico.
It is absolutely wild times. It really, really is. And, you know, there's a lot going on. Like, I don't know if you guys know this, but there's literally a floating island of garbage in the middle of the ocean right now. Yeah. I think it's called Puerto Rico. Okay, all right, okay, we're getting there. Now, again, normally I don't follow the national anthem, everybody. This isn't exactly a perfect comedy setup. There's some people here, all right, very good.
Now, Nina, there were two things about this that struck me. I mean, I was there at the time. It fell completely flat. I wasn't even sure what he'd said. I just heard the crowd reaction and thought, well, whatever you've just done, they don't like it and they're not laughing, was the first thing. So from a comedic point of view, it failed. But secondly, as Jon Stewart rather brilliantly pointed out last night, this guy, Tony Hinchcliffe, is a legendary roaster. It's what he does. At Tom Brady's roast recently, which I think was a Netflix or Amazon special, whichever one it was, He just spent the entire time spray gunning absolutely everybody in an incredibly offensive manner, and everybody seemed to find that terribly funny. And Jon Stewart was like, look, I find this guy funny. Sorry, this is what he does. He said it's a bit like inviting Beyonce to your rally, and then she doesn't. And of course, the joke was she doesn't sing, which is what Beyonce didn't do at the Kamala rally. Can I just ask you, first of all, were you genuinely offended by what he said? And given the context of what Jon Stewart said about what he is, this guy, should we be that offended? Or was it just a case of he shouldn't have been hired for that gig?
He should not have been hired for that gig. Environment matters. So there's a difference between going to a roast where everybody that enters knows exactly what the comedian is going to do, and bringing somebody to a political rally when the person that is running, that being the former president of the United States, is trying to win over people from different walks of life. You just don't do that. Now, I will say I heard the gasp too. I wasn't there. You know, you were there. But when I first watched it, I was pleasantly surprised to hear gasp in the room. I think that is a sign that this guy was not accepted. President Trump needs to come out and say that was not appropriate to that moment. He needs to apologize. I know that his campaign...
Yeah, he needs to make comedy illegal. That's what he must do. Yeah, no thank you. No thanks.
Campaign did, but it's a difference between the campaign doing something and having the candidate themselves. This man offended people. And yes, it was offensive because we have so much racial animus and tension in this country right now. It was ill-advised to have that kind of person there at that kind of rally. And I write about this in Newsweek. It'll be coming out today. I think it is wrong for Democrats or people who lean to the left to be comparing that rally to Nazis, to be calling President Trump adjacent to, or Hitler. They didn't even say adjacent to. It's wrong. And it also takes away the very American nature of white supremacy. We ain't got to go to Nazi Germany. This country has a long litany from chattel slavery to taking indigenous lands of having its own form of white supremacy and bigotry that we need to deal with.
And bigotry.
But to compare President Donald J. Trump to Hitler and to say that the people who attended that rally are akin to Nazis is absolutely wrong and extreme. It's very extreme.
You know, I'm so glad you said that, because I feel that very strongly. You know, I'm not a natural conservative. I'm more of a liberal bent myself. But I just find that constant use of Hitler and Nazis, given how despicable they were, given they murdered 12 million people,
I mean, everything that the left, the mainstream media doesn't like, they equate to Hitler and Nazis. If you keep saying these things, the names, the terms, they will become meaningless. Comment MAGA for the algorithm. Good for Nina Turner for not being completely insane. Obviously, comparing Trump to Hitler is ludicrous. But to be honest, I am at the point where I'm so blackpilled that nothing shocks me anymore. Let me know if you agree in the comments below. As always, thank you so much for watching Bring the Asteroid. See you next time.